I'm trying to figure out how to use the WebSockets with Svelte. Has been hard to find information. It seems like I'm doing everything right, but I'm not receiving the data. So that's what I'm gonna be trying to do for the next 1 hour and a half now. I'm getting undefined here when I send, and I think it has to do with the way that it updates the state. I think this part I did yesterday, I don't remember how. I think it was I used ChatGPT, but I was watching the video that the guy explains how Svelte works, and I think that store is kind of like context on Next.js, where when you create a store, you have a way to change the state regardless of where the component is, if it is a parent component or a child component. So what I did here was to create a store, a writable store, and then I create this function that initializes a socket with these events here and exports that. And then on this thing here, I subscribe to the store and update the values. Just to understand really well how it works. I guess I'm updating the store here based on the whatever happens on the socket on this function. So since I call this function in the beginning, it updates the socket based on the events here. It creates the client with the URL, and then it updates the store based on the events of the socket. And I think that the reason why I'm having problems is probably because of some asynchronous thing, because I still don't understand really well how the onMount works. I think from what I've seen so far from the video there, it seems like it is very similar to useEffect, but I'm not sure if it updates or not after, because I am connecting here. Like it's showing that it's connecting, and then here I'm getting undefined, where console logging, I added a different event here, just so I could emit something when it connects to see if it was at least receiving or making the connection. And like the weird thing is, I also made an event here on the other one to check if I'm receiving the data back. So I am emitting the data here, and it is printing when I call this file. You pass, it triggers this event, then it passes the data, and then I print the data. So it's not working on the Svelte front end. So it is, like the only option that I can think now is that it is something to do with the state and the way that it updates the state based on this onMount thing here. There's both onMount and the store that I have to understand more. I'm watching this video here. I think I'm gonna try to watch everything next couple of days. But it looks like it's gonna be very annoying because there isn't a lot of information, and I have no idea what I'm doing wrong there. Like there's no messages that I'm receiving that are related to this. It looks like I'm doing everything right based on this stuff that I saw. So it's very hard to figure out what can possibly be wrong that I can fix, because it might be something with the way that Svelte works under the hood, like some of the configuration here or something like that. So I have to understand how it works. And then I also changed the folders here. I have to clean this up as well because I did two different things. I was trying to see like which one, but I think I'm gonna delete this file here. Also, maybe I should put, I should change this thing to be equal to this one. And then I just put URL here. Maybe that changes something. But I still think it's not gonna work there. Like it is connecting, but it doesn't receive the data. Yeah, receives here. But then here, it doesn't show anything here. And here it shows that it's connected. And this is getting undefined. So it must be something with the way that it updates the state. And I can't make it async, like I can't await for the thing because it says that it's not, you're not supposed to await that expression or something like that. So it doesn't work. When I put await here, it complains. Yeah, it has no effect. Because the way that he explains in the video, I don't understand really well how it works, but it looks like you pass when you subscribe, you pass this function, and then every time that there is like a change on the store, is gonna update whenever you have the thing that is subscribed. But I don't understand really well how it works. I guess it creates the variables here, and then it uses the subscribe method from the store to update the values based on whatever happens on the store. So because the store is like creating context on Next.js, where you create a file that has all the variables, and then you can use these variables or functions in any other file by using a provider. So I think it's exactly the same pattern here, where you put the variables or whatever logic you want on one specific file, and then from that you can subscribe to that in whatever component you want, and then based on that it's going to change the variables according to what happens with the store. And then on this store, this store is being updated based on the socket here. So it makes a lot of sense, and it looks like everything is right. I just don't understand why it's not showing anything here. And here is also complaining because I have the await. But I think that this is the issue that I couldn't figure out yet. Is that I think that this only updates when it loads the page, let's say, and then after that it doesn't. But I'm not sure, because the use effect updates after you load the page. It updates every time that there is a change in something that is inside of the callback for the use effect. So maybe I should pass something here as a callback. I don't know. It looks like it doesn't receive callback. Yeah, so the function that it receives, it only receives one function, and but use effect also. No, use effect receives a function and then an optional argument that is the callback. But I think this one only receives a function, so you can pass something like here. And then this function is supposed to update every time. It should run every time the component has been updated. First time the callback runs will be after the initial amount. So it should be updating. Based on the events of the store. I think I'm gonna delete this one. as I was doing, and then I have to delete from here as well. And here this is this component here. If it works, then obviously I'm gonna delete the other stuff that I have here. Yeah, so this is what I have to figure out, how to make it so that and I'm getting this occasionally as well, and I don't understand why. But I think that it doesn't have, like, it's not related to the WebSocket. I think, yeah, this is the way that it works. Like when when the page initializes, it sets up event listeners, but then from that point, it's supposed to update based on the event listeners.
socket IO. Let's invoke it. And then we're going to say event from server. Again, this isn't a WebSockets tutorial, but I just want to give you some helpful information. And then we can log this out. So if you're unsure with WebSockets, here's where we emitted this event from, and our client should catch this. So one thing we have to do is restart our development server. So we can go here, and we have no experiment. Let me just start this up in dev, and we should see the message here when we restart this. And here it is, hello world. And that's awesome. So now we have WebSockets working in development, but the problem is how do you get it working in production, which is the second step. So if I go here in the post, also before I go here, let me just show you something awesome. So if you have some reactive value and you need to emit it when the value changes, you can just use a reactive block in socket, which is really awesome. So you can send a message to the server this way.
Like the thing is, this tutorial is talking about the server. So the thing is, because I don't want to create another server, I think that it doesn't make sense. Because on these tutorials, it's like you're using the server directly from Svelte and building the client. But what I'm trying to do is build the server with Flask and then the client with Svelte. So if I have to make another server with Svelte, it feels like it's inefficient. So I don't want to do that, but I might have to do it to make it work. Because then it passes the information from one server to the other, and then from the Svelte server it passes to the client. But if I can avoid, I think it's better to avoid it. And obviously the reason why I'm using Flask is because the thing that I'm trying to do is to visualize the scripts with Python, so I have to do in Python, I think, the server.
So just letting you know, and let's go to the production. So we're going to need Express. Let me see if I already installed it. Yeah, Express, which is awesome. Yes, I think I can close this. So let me explain why we need the node adapter. So let me just stop the development server. Let me run npm run build. If you're using npm, the command is the same. So let me just show you the side here so you can see what's going on. I'm going to collapse this, npm run build, and it should work. So here you can see it created a build folder, and here is the index and a handler JS. So we can create our own custom Express server, and we can pass the handler as an Express middleware. So Svelte is going to take care of everything rest, like the routing, etc. So we don't really have to run two servers, right? So that's what I explained here in the post. So let's see how this works in practice. So if the root of the project, just because it's easier to include it in the script, in a moment, I created a folder server. Socket.io, and here is the handler. So we need to say from. Then we need to go to the build. We need to get an emoji bigger, but if I would use it here, it messes with the recording. So that's why. So we created a custom server by creating a custom Express server that you're going to run our server. So you'll run npm run. And if I
But I think I did this as well and it doesn't work. Let me try again. Because the only reason why I did the JSON thing is because I was passing the string directly. Before, and it wasn't working as well. I think it's not gonna work now. Maybe I could try to do an HTTP instead of WS here. See what happens. But I think it's also not gonna work. Yeah, undefined. I'll try to change this and see if it's gonna show that it's connected. Okay, now it shows disconnected. So it looks like it is working, but it's only the data that is giving me problem. I think I'll ask later how to make the code wait. Because I think it's a problem with the asynchronous. Because the data takes a while to get there, but then the thing gets updated directly. I think if I put connected to server, it's gonna show up. Because it's showing undefined. Yeah, connected to server. So the issue is with the data. So maybe I'm making a mistake on the Flask thing. It's possible as well. But I don't see what could be wrong. Maybe instead of a meeting, I should send but that doesn't make, or maybe it makes sense because before I didn't have this connect event here and it was working. It's still connecting even though I didn't have the event. Undefined. I think if it was an issue here, it would be likely that the other script wouldn't work, wouldn't receive the data. But maybe it's because both of them are in Python that it works. Or something like with the under the hood, the way that Svelte works that is making this not work, I think. Something related to the way that it updates the state and that it receives the messages. Or maybe that's the... Oh, I'm doing the wrong events there. Huh. Maybe that's why. Oh, now it works. Huh. So why doesn't it work on the other one? It's weird that... Because this is a different event. Maybe it's because I have to put message there. No, but then it wouldn't make sense. Because it's receiving connected and then it works. So here it should be graph. I think this one doesn't work because of the thing that's of the state. Because this receives the data right as it's connected. And it's weird because it's a different event here. Oh, I guess I understand. I guess I think it's because the way that it communicates. Because you have to trigger the thing first. So because this emit is not sending to all the clients, it's sending just to the one that I have here. That's the problem. So even though I'm sending the message to this one, I'm not sending on the other one. Let's see if you can help me. But I think I understand now what's going on. It's confusing because of the connect there. Because I think connect is one event that you don't need to explicitly specify. Because it's already part of the socket.io thing under the hood. So even though like I don't need to put connect here, and it's still gonna connect because when it initializes the class, it triggers the event, I think. And the same thing here, because before I didn't have this connect event, and it's still working, was still showing that it was connected there. So I think that's why I was confused. Because here is the one, like is the event, here is the event on the receiving part, and then here is the one that is emitting. So whenever there is a connect event, it emits the connected. And the connect event is triggered automatically here through the IO. And then the issue with the graph event is that is because this one, I think that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure. Because this is the file that sends the event. Also, I'm emitting the message event. And because this one is the one emitting the message event, then it receives the response only from here, but the other client doesn't receive the response. It's two different clients. So what I can do is send a message event. I can also try that out. Let's go to maybe just socket.emit from this point, and then I send the message and see if I get a response. But I think I'm gonna get a response. So now I have to figure out how to make it so that one. I think that there are videos as well about this, about the rooms, so that I can synchronize the clients with the same room. I think this code, I'm not 100% sure that is accurate, I think. Also, I wonder, I guess I can update the store on this page as well. On mount here. Yeah, you can just do a WebSockets update. And I think it receives the, it's going to receive the event. Receives the function. So I can just copy now, this one from here. And then it's a message. Hmm. Yeah, I think I can only, I have to send and then it's gonna receive. Because this one just sends. And then I'm console logging here. Yeah, there we go. So now, at least I understand. But it's weird that it's disconnected now. I guess it's because of the cycle. But it's kind of weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Because if it received the message, it's supposed to be connected. Oh, it's because I'm not passing here. That's why. So I need to pass this stuff here. Oh, but it's supposed to be... Actually, I don't think that's the... Because this is supposed to be on the store already after this update here. But it is interesting. I think I should do with the life cycle of the thing. Let's see if I pass it through. It's probably gonna work there, but... Oh, it's still disconnected. Hmm. I wonder why. As what makes this emitting this message make the thing disconnect? I think I need to update the store after I emit, but and because I'm doing it with the wrong thing, I think. Maybe I should do it with this one. Yeah. Now connects and doesn't send the thing. It's not a function. I'm trying to understand because, like, in my mind, it should be possible to add other stuff to the store outside, but maybe that's not the case. I try to remember if that's the case with the context, but I think it's not the case. Because if that's not the case, then it changes the way that you should create the components or the things, because then obviously if I want to emit something, like it would require you for you to emit the message on every component that is going to use the store, and maybe you don't want to do that. But then if you can't, if emitting the message separately from here makes it so that it changes this one, then it can be a problem, I think. I think it's worth trying to understand how it works. Because the only explanation here is that before I'm modifying the function here, which is this one, which is returning the socket here for the store. Like it updates the store and then returns the socket. And because I'm calling the emit on this socket here, it makes the store disconnect, but I don't understand why. So I think that I should probably search, and then I think it would be to update, the way would be to update here instead, and then is a callback function, I think. Like it's done here. But then I don't understand really well. And because here is making the event outside. And then it's updating based on the event. So maybe it doesn't make sense, sure. But why meeting the event here changes the store? Like it fucks up the connection. I'm receiving the data but fucking up the connection. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT. Yeah, but now there's two things that I need to understand. One is how to create rooms, so I can synchronize the two clients, the one from the server, the Python script that is going to be sending the data, and the one that from the front end, which is this Svelte that is receiving. And also understand more how this works, of why emitting the event here makes the store disconnect. And how can I make it? It's like, is it required that I have to do everything that I want to do with the store inside of the thing here? Because obviously I think I can do socket emit here inside, and then it probably would work, I think. But then this changes the design fundamentally, I think. because then it forces you to have the same object for everything. But maybe there's other Svelte components that also this also disconnects here. Interesting. Oh, it's because I have to update, I think, after I do the thing with the sockets. That's the difference between the other ones. And but then how I'm gonna send the data? Because that's the thing. Because emitting it only allows you to put 2 arguments. It's different than the on, because the on is for the response, so it's not the same thing. Oh, maybe it's because of the events that I'm sending. Oh yeah, it's because the events. It's because of here. Because on the message events, it disconnects later. That's why. I forgot that I did this. So I think you can do it here. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay, so now we're just figuring out the rooms. I guess the best question is how to synchronize 2 different socket IO clients. One from a Python script and other from Svelte. Oh, I should have put the Flask server thing. Just do this stuff. And I'm glad that I could figure it out, because those kinds of bugs are the hardest ones to debug, because you don't get any message, so it's hard to figure out. And because I don't have any experience with Svelte, I thought that it's probably something that I was missing there. But it was actually the WebSockets. Because I also never used WebSockets before, so I mean, the way that I was thinking is that every time that it sends a message, it's gonna send to everyone unless you specify. But I think it's the other way around, where it only sends to everyone if you specify, which makes a lot of sense. But there must be the in-between as well, which I think I've seen videos about, because I wanna obviously be able to just send and receive. I think it's like analogous to the chat applications where you have the room. So I wanna do the logic for the room now, to see how to put both things on the same room. It might be complicated. I think I'm gonna search for Socket.io. I remember seeing a video from, I think, WebDev Simplified that he explains how the rooms work, so it's gonna be hard to find one for Svelte, I think. There isn't a lot of information from what I've seen about Svelte. Yeah, this one.
In this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about Socket.io, from the basics of sending messages between people, joining different rooms, and also more complex things such as this entire admin dashboard, how to deal with namespaces, middleware, authentication, and so much more. Welcome back to Web Dev Simplified. My name's Kyle, and my job is to simplify the web for you so you can start building your dream project sooner. So if that sounds interesting, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this. Now, to get started with this project, I have a little bit of boilerplate code set up. As you can see, I have a bunch of different styles inside of here. I also have some just basic HTML to get the page that you can see on the right-hand side of our screen. And I also, inside of our script, just have a few basic things set up. I'm selecting our form, our room input, our message input, and our room button, just all the components down here. And I have an event listener, so whenever we submit our form, as you can see, it's getting our message and room values. If we don't have a message, it's doing nothing. Otherwise, we're going to call this display message function with our message and then clear out an input. So if I type in a message, click send, you can see it just displays that message up here. That's all this display message function is doing. And then finally, we have this join room button event listener. So when we click on our join room button down here, it's going to call this function and just get that room value. Just some boilerplate code out of the way. And I'm running this using Snowpack. So as you can see, I have Snowpack as a dev dependency, and I'm just running Snowpack dev. So we have this server set up on the side here. None of that really matters too much though, since this entire video is really focused on Socket.io. Also, I have a server folder here. This server.js is empty. And in our package.json, we're just running nodemon with that server file so that every time we make changes, it auto refreshes. So if I just open up a terminal and I go into that server folder, and I just run npm run dev start, that is going to start up and run our file. And then every time we make changes inside of that server.js, such as console.log I, as you can see, those changes are automatically refreshing for us. So now in order to get started with Socket.io, we first need to understand exactly what Socket.io is doing. And all it's doing is allowing us to make a connection between a client and a server, but have that connection persist. So normally when you need to
I think I'm gonna wait for the night time or later, because usually ChatGPT is faster that time because less people are using. And I don't have the premium version. So I'm just gonna watch the video for now. I'm probably gonna watch this video off stream as well. It's a very good video, I enjoy watching. But I couldn't understand some of the concepts. But I think it's because I'm just watching really fast because I wanna have a decent idea. But obviously you learn more by doing than by watching tutorials. But the way that I like to approach always is just to watch a bunch of tutorials. Like, it's kind of like a funnel of information, where the surface level have video content and watching a bunch of stuff, and then the deeper you go, like, it's more engaged, let's say. So the best approach is a combination of the two, in my opinion.
Example, a fetch request or some type of AJAX request. What you're doing is you're saying, hey, server, give me information. So you're asking some server for some information. So you're going to be pointed to the server, and then the server is going to give that information back to the client when you use something like fetch or AJAX. And that's the end of the request. So you do a fetch, it gets to the server, gets to the client, and then the information closes off. But if you need to make, for example, 10 different fetch requests, well, you need to make 10 new requests to the server. So you're going to do this, every single time a client connects to our server, and it's going to give a socket. Say we're going to import IO, and we're going to get that from that on, and we're going to say on connection. And what this is going to do is it's going to be a function that runs every single time a client connects to our server, and it's going to give a socket instance for each one of them. And for now, I'm just going to say console.log or socket.id, which is just a random ID assigned to each person when they connect to our server. This is all it takes really to set up a server with Socket.io. So the server side of things is done. We can move over to the client side of things, and we can install a library down here. So we can say npm I socket.io-client. This is going to be the client version of the library that we're going to be using. And let's start that server back up. So now instead of our script, we're going to say we're going to import IO. We're going to get that from that socket IO client, and this IO is just a function that we can call to get an individual socket. So let's come down here, we're going to say that our socket is going to be equal to calling IO, and here we need to pass it the URL of our server. Well, our server we know is on HTTP. localhost, and we gave it the port of 3000. So now this is going to connect us to our server. And now if we save this and we go over to our server here, once everything refreshes and gets running, we should hopefully see that we're able to connect to the server. And inside here we should be logging out that ID. But that's not happening, as you can see. So if we inspect our page, you're going to notice an interesting error that shows up. And if we just refresh this to make sure error shows up, you can see that we're getting a bunch of errors and it's all saying cores. We're all being blocked by cores. Well, with Socket.io, right now we're on port 8080 for our client and our server's on port 3000. And these two things cannot communicate to each other because cores is blocking them. And if you're not really familiar with cores, I have a whole video on linking the cards in the description for you. But Socket.io makes dealing with cores really easy. What we do is pass in an options parameter to this function. And in here we just say cores. And for cores, all we need to do is say that our origin is going to be equal to an array of origins. And we just pass in wherever our client is. So our client we know is localhost 3000, I'm sorry, 8080. So we have an array and it's saying localhost 8080 is where our client lives. Now we save. And we wait a second, you can see our IDs are being printed out down here, one for each one of our different clients. And if we inspect, we should hopefully have no errors inside here. If we just close this out, there'll be no new errors that come up. Those are just old errors from before. But as you can see, we now have two different connections, one for each one of our browsers. And that's because every time someone connects to our website, they're going to get this connection made. So any computer anywhere connecting to our site is going to go to this IO.on connection. And that's purely because in our script here we're creating a new socket. Now the important thing about Socket.io is the communication between the server and client. Right now we created a connection between the server and client. In order to check that connection, we can do is we can just say socket.on and it's going to listen to any event. We can create our own custom events, or we can use events such as connect, which is an event that will run every time we connect to our server. And inside here, what we're going to do is we just want to print something out. We're going to display a message to the screen that says you connected with ID, and let's just print out their ID, which is socket.id. Make sure that this $sign up here. And now we save. You can see immediately when we connect, it's saying you connected with ID, and it's printing out the ID of the socket that we connected to the server with. So now we can set up a connection to the client and server. We can listen to events coming down from the server, but how do we send events up from the client to the server? Well, this is where we can do something called socket.emit. Emit is just going to take any event that you want and send it to the server. So we can name the event anything we want. Let's just say custom event. Doesn't matter what the name is. And we can pass it any information we want. You know, I can pass it 10, I can pass it high, I can pass it in here an object that says A is equal to, you know, say A right here. I can pass it as much or as little information as I want. It really doesn't matter. What's going to happen is it's going to call this on my server. So in the server, we want to listen for this custom event. So in the server, we can just say socket.on. So whenever a socket listens and hears this custom event, it's going to call a function. And that function is going to have all these different parameters. So we know we have a number, a string, and an object. Those are our three different parameters we're passing up. Let's just for now console log our number, our string, and our object to see if this is working as expected. So if we save both of these, we should hopefully send this custom event up as soon as we connect. And as you can see, we're sending it up immediately. It's saying 10 high, and then it's passing up an object, and the same thing right here. Now sometimes you may notice that if we save this, this actually doesn't get sent up, and that's because we actually don't connect in time. So you may need to put this inside your on connect to make sure you're always connected before you try to send these events. And this is a great way to actually send events, but this event right here is pretty useless. So let's send an event anytime we try to send a message. Inside here, when I send a message, I want to say socket.emit send message. And inside here, I just want to pass out the message we're sending. So now if I go up into our server, we can listen for that send message function, and it's going to take in a message, and then we can console log that message. So now whenever I type in a message and hit send, you can see that message is being sent up to the server. And it doesn't matter which browser ID is in. All of them are connected, so every single one is going to send up the message to the server. Now we can do is actually send this message down to all of our different clients. So let's just refresh both these pages so we have a blank screen to work with. And what I want to do inside here is I want to send this message down to our client. So what we can do is just say io.emit, and this is going to emit a message, and we can say whatever we want. We call this receive message. We can call it send message again. It really doesn't matter what the name is. You can make whatever you want. And we're going to pass down this message. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell our server to send a message to every single socket out there.
I think this is why I was confused, is because I don't know, I'm still not 100% sure about this, but I think that the way that it's explaining here, like that all of them receive the message, but I think that all of them receive the message when you have their own event, but when you're emitting an event, then not all of them receive. It's only because when you're emitting as a response of another event that was emitted, which is the case that I was doing there, where I emit one event and then from that event the server emits another event, then not all of them receive. But when you have the direct response from the server, then I think all of them receive the message. So it's still very confusing for me.
Clients. So now instead of our client, we can listen for that. We can say socket.on receive message. It's going to take in a message, and let's just display that message out to the user. So now if we type in a message, we'll just say hi from me and click send. You can see it said hi from me, and then our other socket also received this message. But you'll notice that this socket also received the same message. So it printed out once because we called it display message here, and it printed out a second time because it also got receive message here. So when you do io.emit, it sends a request to all of the different clients, including the client that actually made the request in the first place. If you only want to send a message or an event down to all the clients except for the client that sent the message, well then what you do is you say socket.broadcast. And then .emit. What this is saying is, okay, I want to take our current socket, and from that socket, I want to broadcast a message to every other socket that isn't me, and that message is this. Now if we save this, let's just refresh both these pages here. I'm going to send hi from me. You'll now notice it gets sent to both users, but it doesn't actually get sent to this first user, and that's because we're already displaying the message here, and it's not ever receiving the message up here. We're only sending it to every other user except for the one that we currently are. That's what this broadcast flag is going to do. Super useful in scenarios like this. Now this right here is essentially the most basic form of socket.io. We can send and receive events from the client to the server and from the server to the client, and we can choose which sockets we're going to send those to, whether we're going to send all the sockets or every socket except for ourselves. But what happens if we want to be able to have private rooms where we only communicate with certain people, or we join the room and we only get messages inside that room? Well, that's something we can do inside of socket.io. By default, every single user inside IO has their own room, and that's just their ID right here. So this user is currently in a room with themselves with this ID. So if I want to send a message to another user, I can send it to a room that is their ID. So let's do that real quick. What I want to do is I want to send a message and I'm going to pass up the room property. So whatever we type in here is going to be our room variable. I'm also going to pass up the message.
Let me try this broadcasting here. It looks like it doesn't have the thing. It might be different as well because of the implementation of in the different languages. I think I need to read the documentation of this one to understand more how it works. Yeah, this is the thing here. I'll probably have to expect that every time that you create a connection with a client, it puts on this list here. And then it has separate, it emits and receives events based on this, I think. Yeah, I think that it's slightly different, the one that I have here, the one from Python and the other one from JavaScript. And that's why it is a little bit confusing there, I think, because it's not exactly the same as he's saying. Or maybe I'm confusing the way that he's talking about there. Like, because I think what he says is that every client receives the same message when you use the emit, and then, or when you use the broadcast or whatever he said there. But it's not the case here, I think, because there isn't even a method for broadcast there. So I think I'm gonna watch, maybe search for videos and maybe read the documentation.
Then instead of our server, we're going to take in that message and the room. And I just want to do a quick check to see if our room is equal to nothing. Well, then we don't have a room, so we're just going to broadcast this to everyone. Otherwise, if we do have a room, we want to send our message specifically to that room. So we can say socket.to room. And this room is just a unique name. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's just going to be a room. Everyone that's currently in that room is going to get the message, and then we can just copy the rest of this emit part right here. So we're going to emit a message to this room from this socket. And the nice thing about using .to is it already does this broadcast portion. So this .broadcast is assumed when you're sending a message to a room, it sends it to everyone except for yourself. So now what we can do is we can come here, just refresh. We can say this is a message to all, and we click send. And you can see that message is sent to everyone. But what if I want to send a message to just this user right here? Well, let's just come here. I'm going to open up a new tab, and this tab is a brand new user. I want to send a message only to this user. Well, I can say this is private. I can paste in the room that I want to send it to. And remember, I said every socket is in a room that is the same as our ID. So this socket has a room that starts with UPT. This one has an _5 room. So when I click send, I sent this private message to this user. It shows up here just because inside of our script JS, we're always displaying a message when we send it. This new user over here didn't get the private message. But if I send a public message, for example, I say this is public, you can see this person got it, and this new person also got that message. So I'm able to send private messages or public messages based on this room ID. And this ID is just the ID of the socket itself. So that's really good for sending one-on-one types of messages. But what happens if you want to send a message to multiple people but not to everyone? This is where the idea of custom rooms come in. Inside our code here, we have this join room button, and we want to take in the room and we want to join that room. Well, we can't join the room from the client. We need to tell the server we're going to be joining the room. So I'm going to say socket emit. I'm going to send up a message that's just called join room. And this join room is going to take in the room that we want to join. And this is going to join me to that room. So in the server, let's set a listener for that. We can say socket.on join room. We're going to take in a room. But what I want to do is actually join the user to this room. And this is actually really easy to do in socket. We just say socket.join. We pass it in the room we want to join.
So that's how I do it. So probably the way that I'm gonna do it is the same way that he's doing there. Just create another event here, and then I use the other class that they have here, I think, that it says in the beginning there, and then you put the people also. Yeah, there's other classes here. Should use this. Should make this happen. So there's closed room. There's probably open room as well. But I was talking about the other I think I was talking about this thing here. Or whatever I saw the list. Yeah, client manager, I think. Yeah, so I can make the event, then put the 2 different clients on the same list first. And I can send the event on mount here. Or I put it inside of the thing. Actually, I have to emit, I think, so it has to be outside. Or maybe I can make it inside of here as well. I think it's better to make it inside of here because every time because they're going to be always synchronized between the script and this one, so I can make an event here to emit an event, and then based on that event, I append the client to the list here, and then I do the same thing on the script, where before it executes anything, it sends the event, and then it goes inside of the same room, I think. Yeah, so I just have to figure out how to make sure that they are both on the same thing. And it looks like there is a function there as well to close the room, so there's probably one to open the room. This function here. But I'm gonna have to, I think I'm gonna do this off stream. I'm gonna read the documentation and keep watching the videos. And because this stuff is new to me, the WebSocket and Svelte, like these parts, I have to spend a lot of time reading stuff. But then I think after a while it's gonna be easier and easier. I think the most difficult part is gonna be trying to figure out how to make it so that I can step through the script and then show up live. Because I was thinking about this as well, off stream, that it might be a lot harder because like the way that the network X works is that you run the thing first and then creates the graph. It creates the template with the graph. So I'm not really sure if Vue.js is gonna allow me to like update the graph as the data, as I get the data. Because obviously, I think it would be inefficient if I had to create the graph every time that I add a new node, for example. So if Vue.js doesn't allow me to do that, I'm gonna have to search for if there's different alternatives or like what kind of stuff I can do to make that happen. Because in my mind, there must be a way, because there is a lot of tutorials that they show updating graphs based on WebSockets. But obviously it's a different kind of graph, so that's the thing. I think that the tricky part might be the physics engine that it has. And that's the difference between that and the other ones. And if that's a problem, then I think that part is gonna be very hard, because then I might have to figure out how to change the physics engine and how to make it so that, and hopefully, but I think before I do that, I just want to do the basic thing first. I think I would be happy if I could get to the point where it's just updating or creating the graph based on the data and not add the step through thing functionality. And so join room, this function here. So you probably use this function and then you create the room. From the event context. Yeah, so that's how you do it. You create this event and then you put the name and the information for each one. And press F12 there to go to the function declaration or to the method. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it is that hard, but I just want to understand first. I think watching videos and reading the documentation, how I'm supposed to do, like what kind of information is this from the session, how do you see this? But I think it comes from the request. And what about this namespace here as well? And from the request context. Client provided, client is... Yeah, so I want to watch videos to know what is the recommended way to do it first before I do anything.
With this custom name. So now what I can do, just refresh both these users here, get rid of this extra one. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're going to join the room test for this user, click join. Down here we're going to join the room test as well. Right, so it's not joined the room test yet. We're just going to send our message up here, and you notice it doesn't send to the user down here. But if we join that test room, now they're both in the same room, so when we click send, it's going to send that message to both users in that room. And that's because whenever we have a room typed in down here, it's going to send a message to that room. And since both these users are in the test room, it's going to send that message to them. But if we were to send a message, for example, to test 3, this user is not in test 3 down here, so when we send a message, it doesn't go to the user. But if we join test 3 and then send a message, it now gets sent to both users. And the nice thing about rooms is you can join as many rooms as you want. For example, this user is still in this room right here, which is their ID. And they're still in that original test room. They're in all the different rooms that they joined up to this point. So rooms are really good for being able to segment different users. You can think, for example, like a group chat would be great for having rooms, or if you have like a game that you're creating, each lobby is going to be its own particular room. But one additional thing that you can do with these events of socket on and socket init is you can actually pass up a callback function. And this callback function is going to get called from the server back down to the client. So it passes a callback, which is going to take in a message, and all we're going to do is display that message. So you just say display message of that message. This is our callback function. And this callback function we get on the server. So here we're going to have our room, and we're also going to have this callback. And the callback must always be the last thing you pass to it out of it. And then what we can do is we can just call that callback with a message. For example, we can say join, and then we can pass it in the name of the room that they joined. So now what we're doing is inside our socket on, we're joining into that room, and we're calling this callback. And this callback is really cool because you can't call code from the client when you're in the server, you can't call code in the server when you're on the client. But with this callback, it allows you to essentially do that because behind the scenes it's doing a WebSocket connection to make this work. So what's happening is we're passing up this function saying, hey, you know what, call this function with a result whenever we call our join room here. So we're saying, okay, we're calling that
I think I'm gonna stop here and then we're just gonna watch videos off stream. I'm gonna watch videos about, finish this one, then watch other videos about the Flask one. And then read the documentation as well. Yeah, and probably try to watch as much as I can from this one as well. And what I'm gonna do next is put the other function here to join the rooms, and then I'm gonna try to join this one on the room and the Svelte on the same room, and then try to pass the data. Like trigger the event from this one, and then see if I can receive the data here to display there. Once I make that happen, then I think I can start looking at the VGS thing, so I can build the graph based on the data that I receive. And then the first step is going to be to just create the simple, like I want to create exactly the same graph that I created directly from here, but from the front end. I think that's the first step, without doing anything different. So just sending the data in a way that is going to allow me to recreate the graph from the front end. Then once I do that, then I think about how I'm going to make it so that I can allow the user input to, like, so I can code something on the front end that based on that, it triggers an event listener, then sends the event to the socket, to the server. Then the server sends the event to this file, and then it continues the script here. Like, this is going to be the difficult part. And this also is more difficult because of the graph thing that I was talking about, where I don't know if it's gonna work or not to update the vis graph as I do the thing. But if it doesn't, I think I would be happy. Maybe I'll stop before that because I wanna continue the other project as well. So maybe I stop right after I have the whole creating the graph thing from the front end. And then I just optimize the graph for studying recursion. And then once I have the graph and I become better at recursion based on the graph study, then I can go back to the other project that I was doing, finish the other one, and then come back to this later. But I'm probably going to continue this 2 days from now, on Thursday. Or maybe tomorrow, but probably on Thursday. I'm going to come back and continue to do this.